In the spring of 2020, my wife and I purchased a home in the beautiful colonial city of Merida, Mexico, which is the capital of the state of Yucatan and about 30 minutes inland from the Gulf of Mexico. And because of COVID and several other things, we have kind of gone through a bit of a process trying to get that home planned, designed, and now halfway through construction, we are finally able to see exactly what this place is going to look like, which is very, very fun. But during that process, there have been things that I wish we would have done, had to change in the middle, or we actually were able to get them done right at that point that were very important. So this video is going to outline 5 things that I think you should think about if you're planning to renovate and build a home in Merida, Mexico, or Mexico in general. Here we go. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that these are only 5 things that I'm going to go over with regard to just things that we probably should have known or planned on, but then did it right in the middle of the process. If you want to see all of the other videos that this channel has to offer with regard to our home, Merida in general, or moving to Mexico, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button and the notification bell. That'll let you know anytime that I go live or one of these videos is published. And I always like to stick around for chat just in case you guys have any questions about the video. So, continuing on. The first thing was a termite treatment. Now, this was something that actually one of the viewers of this channel brought up to me and said that Merida has a significant problem with termites, and because we had a lot of wood in our construction, we might want to consider looking into a termite treatment. This is actually something that was on my builder's list of things to do. We just hadn't reached that point, but once we did, we were able to talk about it. We got an entire termite treatment from the front of our house all the way to the back. Now, for those of you who don't know, our house is about 33 feet wide by about 160 or 80 feet deep. So quite the place, and we were able to do that once everything was completely up. So that termite treatment should help. Jeez, got a bug flying around me. So that termite treatment should help for years to come. But when you have a lot of wood in your construction, when you're utilizing wood for different pieces and parts, something very important to think about. Now, most of these properties are going to be a lot of concrete, a lot of tile, a lot of solid surfaces of that nature, sometimes polished concrete. But when you're looking at utilizing wood for cabinetry, for tables, and otherwise, definitely ask your builder about utilizing a termite treatment while the place is completely torn apart. That way, they won't bother you, and it can be redone from time to time. So number 2 is your internet network setup. And why this is important to me is obviously I want as fast a network as possible, especially when you're talking about Wi-Fi. And most of these homes have very thick concrete walls. So it's not the traditional frame construction that you see in the United States. These are very thick cinder block walls. And so that Wi-Fi connection doesn't really travel well between rooms. Now, you can solve this in several ways, one of which is to just get repeaters throughout the house, which in the homes that we've stayed in actually worked just fine. But I wanted something that was a little more attuned to what we had here. What I basically told our builder to do was to put Cat 6 line running through the initial point that the internet service provider will come into the home, and then basically having several lines that run from that point into different rooms, and then kind of crossing those lines. So one line would start there, run into a different room, and then another line would take over, run into a different room. What that allowed me to do was utilize a Linksys mesh network setup to where I could put the very powerful nodes in about 4 different places in the house that were directly connected to the initial ISP provider's input. And then after that, because inevitably it is going to get a little bit diminished throughout the property, I can then utilize repeaters for the Wi-Fi network that would allow me to have a very strong signal throughout the massive footprint of this home, both up and downstairs on the main level. So that's one thing I would absolutely recommend you looking into. I am not a technology expert. I've only done it for my home, so I'm just kind of an expert for me, but I've done it enough to where I can say that doing that upon setup is going to help you in a significant way, because repeaters, especially on the long properties that you can sometimes get in a place like Merida, are only going to go so far. So definitely make sure that you have different points throughout the house where you can have really powerful bases, or if you have a mesh network, a node, and they are all connected to that direct ISP. That way, when you put repeaters in, it is just a much more stable network, and you'll have very strong signal at the back of the house as well as from the front of the house. So number 3 is actually one that we just now ran into, and that is exterior wall height. Now, this might not seem like that big a deal, but when you build these kind of nice places, you want to make sure that you have privacy. For those of you who don't know, if you look up Merida online, especially like on maps.google.com, what you're going to see is that a lot of the places are big rectangles. And so a lot of what you see from the front is nothing. It's just a nice facade. Behind that facade is where the entire house goes, and you'll have gardens and pools and bedrooms and kitchens and everything behind this concrete facade. And on each side are walls, which makes sense because that's your neighbor. However, if your neighbor has a patio that is one level above yours, if your neighbor has the ability to kind of look into your yard, depending on how everything is set up, one thing you may want to think about in order to secure the most privacy is if they do something like that, or even if they add on to it in the future, just making sure that you know that you can raise your exterior wall height, providing privacy for them and for you. We had this with our home now. At the end of our property, they're adding a rooftop patio to their side, which is completely fine. More power to them. I think it's going to look absolutely beautiful. The problem is that with that height, they would then look directly into our lot. So all we're going to do is add about 3 foot of height on a cinder block wall. We're already planning on doing most of it. This is going to be about 3 foot by 17. Boom, problem solved. Everybody gets privacy and we're done. But it's something to think about if once you get to the rooftop level, you see that people are on their roofs enjoying the time. If you want true privacy, just make sure you raise those walls and everybody's happy. Now, this one's a big thing for me, and that's natural light. Now, Merida is known as being a very hot place, a very sunshiny place, and absolutely idyllic and beautiful, unless you are somebody that really gets hot in that kind of situation. I don't mind the heat, but some people do. But with heat comes light, and light is a very important thing. We actually ran into this on a design change that we made for our property. The reason that we ran into this was the natural light on one side of the home is absolutely fantastic. It looks out onto the pool, big windows, floor to ceiling, side to side, but because of a design issue that we ran in on the other side of that room, we were basically looking at potentially having to cut off the light from that wall. I didn't like that. It wouldn't let enough natural light in for the kitchen, for the room anyway, and I didn't want to lose the ability to have natural light. That way we would cut down on our energy costs by not having to turn on every single light in the kitchen just to be able to see where we were grabbing things. So we made a slight design change. It allowed light to come in on both sides, and we did this in bathrooms, in bedrooms, everywhere. And if you have a level that is open to the sky, basically you don't have something where it's like a first level and a second level and you're trying to do this on the first, what you can actually do is utilize basically glass tiles that go into the ceiling. That way, if there's light above you, it can shine in there, and you have natural light in that room throughout the entire day. The one thing I will tell you as a warning is if you're ever planning on utilizing that room that you utilize those glass tiles in as a bedroom, probably not a great idea because you'll never be able to sleep in because it's natural light, and as soon as the sun comes up, you're up. So again, if it's an entertainment room where you don't need complete darkness, if it is a dining room, a kitchen, a main hall, whatever it is, but if you want natural light, even a bathroom, something like that, those are great options to bring in more natural light from the top. And then if you're talking about a completely enclosed space, making sure that you hopefully have at least 2 points where you can get a little bit of natural light coming in, therefore utilizing no electricity and being able to see throughout the day. Just a thought. We had to think about that on one situation, so I wanted to bring that up here with you. And number 5 is, it can be a little awkward, but I think most of you are mature enough to handle it, and that is thinking about bidets. Now, one thing that, I know, I'll give you a second, hold on. Okay, let's get back to it. Utilizing bidets, and you can do this post-completion, or you can actually have one kind of run. But for those of you who don't know, in Merida and several places in Mexico, and even if, like we've gone to Costa Rica and several other places in the world, where you don't flush toilet paper. You put it in a basket. Take that as you will, but that's just the truth. And in our house, we actually have pretty much redone every single line going out to the main lines of the street. Now, some people will tell you that even then don't flush toilet paper. Our builder has told us that it's completely fine because they've run all new lines, so it shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. But if it is a question, or if it is something that you just cannot do in your situation, one great option to clean everything up and just make sure it's a little bit better is to utilize a bidet. And for those of you who haven't utilized one in the past, they're not as bad as you think they are. And for those of you who have, you know that to be true. But it's one thing to think about if you are in a house that's not able to flush and the toilet paper trash can freaks you out a little bit. You can install one that just goes under your seat post-construction that just hooks up to your water line. Very easy thing. There are tons of them in the States right now. Or if you are in the middle of a project, why don't you plan on just running one? It's one extra piece. You can do it in one bathroom or all of them, but that will help you be able to keep clean and your sewage lines able to keep clean. There we go. Bidets. Good stuff, baby. Okay, so those are 5 things that I would absolutely recommend before, during, and after construction thinking about, because I think they can, 1, save you money, save you time, save you hassle. And in the case of natural light, it's definitely positive to just keep that in mind as you're looking through those plans, making sure that you don't have a room that is completely dark all of the time. It just makes it a little easier to live in. And if you guys have any questions or want to follow me, see all the construction that's going on, please feel free to visit me at these social media links. Instagram is my main jam at Alexander from KC, is in Kansas City, so Alexander from KC. You can also text me at 816-727-7740 if you found this video in any way helpful. I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button. And if you think that the content on this channel is something that you want to look at because you're thinking maybe you one day want to build in Merida, Mexico, subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting the notification bell. That'll let you know anytime one of these videos goes live, as well as whenever I live stream, you can hop on with me and ask any question that you might have. And guys, normally I post one of these videos pretty consistently every week. I'm a day or two behind this week. I got the COVID booster and it completely knocked me out for like 48 hours. So I'm a little behind on what I was planning on doing, but it's here now. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. And again, please feel free to visit me, alexanderhowell.com. That'll just send me an email if you go to the Contact Us page as well. But 5 things. Hopefully that helped you all. I hope you enjoy Merida and your experiences there. But as always, peace.